Hey everybody, this is Jace with ARM-US, and as you can see, I'm just outside our warehouse today giving you a look at the DJI Dock 2. Now, usually I have a drone in front of me, but today it's in the box, which is what the DJI Dock 2 solution is. It's designed to be able to be installed at a site as more or less a semi-permanent or permanent solution to be able to capture data at regular intervals. That's the basic idea. But first, a little bit about the box itself. You can see we have our weather station up here with the camera that provides us a live feed remotely at any time as long as we have access to the software. Also, the box is completely climate controlled, so those hot environments, usually the massive enemy of lithium polymer batteries, that's not an issue when you're operating with the DJI Dock. It's completely climate controlled. Really, the only thing that you need to be able to actually install the box on site is power and an Ethernet internet connection. Now, if that can be a little bit of an issue with the remote site, today we're actually utilizing a Starlink system, which is satisfying those requirements, which means when the drone takes off and it captures its data, it's going to land itself right back on the dock and upload that data, and we can access it from wherever we need to. All right, so that's a little bit about the box itself. Let's open it up and take a look at the aircraft. All right, so now that we have the box open, we can actually take a look at the aircraft itself. If you think maybe this looks like maybe a little bit modified Mavic 3, well, you're not far off. We have a lot of the same features. We have an FAA compliant integrated beacon. With this, the RTK antenna is built directly in instead of being an attachable module. We also do have an expansion port, which allows for the integration of the AVSS parachute system we've talked about in previous videos. It now has an official declaration of compliance with the FAA. This aircraft will allow you to satisfy Category 2 and Category 3 requirements for operating over people. Additionally, like the Mavic 3, we have 360-degree obstacle avoidance, and we also have an RGB and thermal sensor integrated on this particular one, but they do make a high-resolution, just RGB sensor version as well. All right, so now we've taken a look at the hardware. Let's take a look at the software, which is the DJI Flight Hub 2. Now, if you use the mission planner on a remote on a DJI aircraft before, this should look fairly familiar, but this is much more fully featured. On the top right of this screen, you can see current dock and drone information. We have battery percentage of the drone, RTK connectivity, the outside temperature of the dock, and just a basic overall status. Now we're in the screen where you take a look at creating and planning a mission. Again, some of these should look very similar, return to home altitude and some other settings, but what we're going to do today is execute a pre-planned mission. So the mission we're going to select, again, should look very familiar. It's just a standard orthomosaic mapping mission. You can see that we have an option to select either RTK or just basic GPS. We also have the option to either immediately execute this mission or time the mission so we can set it to capture this exact same mission repeatable over a timed interval, whatever we may need. Finally, as we previously mentioned, we can set our return to home altitude. We also set our signal lost action, the standard mission planning aspects of flying an automated mission. Then after we push OK, the dock is going to open, the aircraft will take off and collect the data. All right, so now the drone is back on the ground. Once it gets back in the dock, it auto uploads the data and we've processed a map. That allows us to effectively more or less be hands-off with the drone, and we just get to what we need, which is the data. One thing that's of particular appreciation that we have for the DJI Dock, and specifically the Flight Hub 2 software, is that now that we have a baseline map, we have our own up-to-date map of this area. For our future mission planning, this allows us to plan our missions based on our own data. So terrain follow or any other new features that might not exist on the standard just overhead maps, we now have that data that we can have actionable when we're planning our missions. So that's a quick look at the DJI Dock 2, and we do mean quick look. There's a lot of features in here that we weren't even able to touch on today. So as always, we'll be bringing you more video content. Make sure you subscribe to the channel for the latest in drones and robotics.